The first principle is people face trade-offs. All decisions involve trade-offs. For example, you can go to a party the night before your midterm, but that leaves less time for studying. There's a limited amount of time to study. There's a limited amount of time to party. You have to make that decision. Having more money to buy stuff requires working longer hours, which leaves less free time, leisure time, time to play video games, time to hang out. You have to make a choice between working and leisure. If you're a business, you may have to choose between protecting the environment, which uses up resources like time and money and inputs, but you might do so by sacrificing the production of your consumer goods. Society faces an important trade-off: efficiency versus equality. Efficiency in terms of economics is when society gets the most from its scarce resources. You're basically maximizing your output given your inputs. Equality is when prosperity is distributed uniformly among society's members. Now, there's a trade-off between these two. To achieve greater equality, you could redistribute income from the wealthy to the poor, but this reduces the incentive to work and produce and shrinks the size of the overall economic pie. Essentially, when you promote equality over efficiency, you disincentivize hard work, because why would someone work very hard to earn a great income, to build a great business, when more of it is taken away from them when they finally get there? Principle 2 is the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Making decisions requires comparing the costs and benefits of alternative choices. This is better known as opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of any item is whatever must be given up to obtain it. It is a relevant cost in decision making. Examples of opportunity cost: the opportunity cost of going to college for a year is not just tuition, books, and fees, but also the foregone wages. You're here learning, but you could have taken this time to be working. There's a trade-off there. The opportunity cost of going to see a movie is not just the price of the ticket, but the value of the time you spend in the theater. If you go see a movie, that is time you could be sleeping, time you could be studying. You have to make trade-offs. Now, I should pause here and say, getting an education has been shown to give you a much higher income in the long run versus someone that doesn't go to college. So you should feel pretty good about that decision. Principle 3, rational people think at the margin. Now, first let's look at what rational people means. Rational people systematically and purposefully do the best they can to achieve their objectives. They make decisions by evaluating costs and benefits of marginal changes, which are incremental adjustments to an existing plan. Rational people generally try to seek their own best outcome. Examples of this principle are when a student considers whether to go to college for an additional year, he compares the fees and foregone wages, the opportunity cost, to extra income he could earn with an extra year of education. Another example is when a manager considers whether to increase output, she compares the cost of needed labor and materials to extra revenue. The fourth principle is that people respond to incentives. An incentive is something that induces a person to act. For example, the prospect of reward or punishment. Rational people respond to incentives. Good examples include when gas prices rise, consumers buy more hybrid cars and fewer gas-guzzling SUVs. Another example is when cigarette taxes increase, teen smoking falls. Teens typically don't have a lot of money, so cigarettes become more costly, they consume less cigarettes. Now let's look at the principles of how people interact. Principle 5 is trade can make everyone better off. Rather than being self-sufficient, people can specialize in producing one good or service and exchange it for other goods. Countries also benefit from trade and specialization and get a better price abroad for the goods they produce. Buy other goods more cheaply. They can also buy other goods more cheaply from abroad than they could produced at home. Simply put, certain individuals, nations, countries, however you want to say it, it's true for the individual, true for the nation, are better at, have a certain skill set that are better at producing some things versus another. This is the specialization of labor that Adam Smith talked about in 1776. The sixth principle is markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. A market is a group of buyers or sellers, and they need not be in a single location, especially in this day and age, which makes principle 5 a little easier, because when electronics can be produced more efficiently or less expensive in Asia than they are in the US, it's a good thing that markets don't need to be in a single location, because we can trade certain goods for electronics in other areas. A market is also organizes economic activity. It means in order to organize economic activity, you have to determine what goods to produce, what are you good at, how to produce them, what is the method for production, and how much of each good to produce, and who's going to get them. This is a lot of things to organize within a market. Now, believe it or not, this happens organically in terms of economics, and hopefully over the course of this semester, you're going to better understand that process. A market economy allocates resources through the decentralized decisions of many households and firms as they interact in markets. This was the famous insight by Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations in 1776 that I referenced just moments ago. Each of these households and firms act as if they're led by an invisible hand to promote the general economic well-being of society. Adam Smith is known basically as the father of modern economic thought. His book, The Wealth of Nations in 1776, really sparked what went on to become the Industrial Revolution and serious gains in both productivity and market efficiency. Basically, his premise was that the individual and nations are better off specializing in what they do best. For the individual, in terms of a manufacturing process, this line of thinking led to things like the assembly line, where workers focused on producing one particular aspect of a product. For nations, this was sort of the dawn of specialization in producing certain things on a mass scale and distributing them to a global market economy, way back in 1776. So, principle 6, markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. The invisible hand works through the price system. Now, you'll come to know what we call the quote-unquote invisible hand a little bit better, but it's that thing I was talking about the economies organically organizing themselves, as long as the invisible hand's allowed to work. And it does this through the price system. There's an